Hey, this is Kenny's Audiophile Record Reviews. Thank you very much for viewing my channel. Please like and subscribe. That'll help me out. And please, in the description section of my video, there's a lot of links to some of my older videos. So please check that out. Support my channel even further. Also, excuse the noise up above. That's my ceiling fan. If you can hear it, I apologize for that. But like I said, I gotta stay cool for this video. But in this video, I'm gonna do a comparison between a mono version of the iconic album Herb Alpert Presents Sergio Mendes Brasil '66. This is a mono cover and the stereo version. Now, in this video, I had a choice between using this earlier pressing of the stereo version, and I'm going to show you the label for that one. This is the earlier pressing I have of the stereo. I had a choice of using this one, that pressing, and the Mobile Fidelity reissue of that same record, stereo record. Although I listened to both, I did my main comparison between the mono, and again, this is a mono label that I use in this comparison. I concentrated mainly on the Mobile Fidelity, and here's why. I did an earlier video of a comparison between the earlier stereo pressing and the Mobile Fidelity pressing, and I concluded, to my ears, the Mobile Fidelity pressing was a bit more detailed, not by a wide margin, but a bit more detailed. I really enjoyed the high treble setting on the Mobile Fidelity over the original or earlier pressing. However, my wife preferred the original stereo over the Mobile Fidelity because she said the original stereo was more detailed, and she liked the deeper bass over the original stereo. Like I said, that was an earlier video I did, and I'll leave the link to that comparison between the Mobile Fidelity and this earlier pressing in the description below. But in either case, we both felt it was a tight comparison. In other words, they were very close in terms of in terms of a comparison. One didn't blow the other one away. I just chose a Mobile Fidelity because, like I said, it had a little bit more detail, and I like the higher treble on the Mobile Fidelity, whereas my wife said that she liked the deeper bass in the earlier pressing, and she thought that was more detailed. That goes to show you that it's, in addition to having good equipment, it's all about how we interpret music and what sounds good to our ears, to be quite honest with you. But in this comparison, I'm using a Riga P8 turntable with a Feta 3 cartridge for the stereo record, and for the mono record, I'm using a Technics SP15 turntable with a Audio-Technica AT33 mono cartridge. And also I played the mono on the stereo turntable as well. But in listening to these two records, it was quite interesting, and I thought one was going to blow the other one away when I started out to do this comparison. That was not the case. I thought the stereo was going to blow the mono away, and it did not. And I'll get into that more in this video. But I will say that when listening to these records, at least on the stereo, mainly Sergio Mendes on piano is coming out of the right speaker, and on drums, they're coming mainly out of the left speaker. And in the stereo version, that stereo effect on some of the songs creates a great, dimensionality, great depth, great 3D realism as the sound expands. For example, Sergio Mendes' piano expands, from the inside of the right speaker, onto a little bit beyond that. towards the center of the soundstage, not totally towards the center of the soundstage, but expands a little bit to the left of the right speaker and a little bit to the right of the right speaker in terms of depth and dimension. Same with the drums. The drum kit expands a little bit beyond to the right of the left speaker and a little bit to the left of the left speaker as well. It creates a great dimensionality. However, compared to the mono, the sound is a little bit more distant. It's more detailed. I shouldn't say necessarily more detailed. It's more, is a more ambience and dimension and depth when listening to stereo, and when you're considering the drums and the piano. But it seems more distant compared to the mono. The mono, in comparison to stereo, is more of a direct sound on this record. For example, the drums, when the stick is hitting the drums, is more of a pop, more of a direct pop, or more of an in-your-room direct pop on the drums and the cymbal. The piano, Sergio Mendes' piano, is more, obviously more in front of you, but you can hear it a little bit better. Whereas a stereo, there's more depth, dimension, soundstage, and ambience, but on the mono, there's more of a direct sound, and it's almost like you can hear the instruments a little bit better in the mono, is what I'm trying to say. Whereas the stereo, there's a dimensionality, soundstage, and realism attached to it. I did notice that the vocals, say for example on the song A Slow Hot Wind, and when they're singing as a group, and in the first few seconds of A Slow Hot Wind, when they're singing as a group, those wordless vocals, it sounded more pleasing in stereo because it provided a little bit more depth and dimension. For example, in a song Slow Hot Wind, and on this video, I'm assuming that Lanny Hall was the lead vocalist on all these songs. I don't know if that's true, so if it's not, please leave your comments in the comment section below. But Lanny Hall's voice on the Slow Hot Wind on the stereo version, and I have tall speakers, by the way, so Lanny Hall's voice seemed to float high in a three-dimensional sound space along with the backup vocalist. Maybe it was in between the center of the sound stage and the right speaker, and it seemed to float beautifully in a three-dimensional sound space in the stereo. The mono, it was the vocals were great, but it was more of had more of a directness to it. On A Slow Hot Wind, Sergio Mendes plays, there's maybe a 10-second harpsichord solo. At least I think it's a harpsichord. It could be a keyboard of some type, but I think it's a harpsichord. In the stereo, it's more, the harpsichord sound is more at a distance, but with more depth and dimension. Where on the mono, that harpsichord sound is more direct, and it sounds like the harpsichord is actually in the room. Same with the drums. You know, the directness and the of the drums. Like I said, when it hits the cymbal, when it hits the drum, it sounds like more in the room in the mono. But like I said, the stereo provides this great ambience and three-dimensionality from the recording. I know on Más que Nada, the first song on side 1, I believe, there's this, what sounds like they're doing their fingers like this, but it could be the strike of a percussion instrument. That effect on my system, on my turntable, on my mono cartridge, that effect of that fingers going like this, or the percussion strike, the directness of it sounds more pleasing to me and more enjoyable in mono, because it's a more of a direct hit with the fingers or the percussion, whichever it is. It sounds better in mono. But I think they both have something to offer, in my opinion. It's not like one blows the other away. I know in some of the records, like on One Note Samba and The Joker, the stereo and the mono, the vocals are in approximately the same space. But obviously the drums on the stereo is on the left speaker and the piano is on the right speaker. And also I have to say this, when they're singing as a group, say for example on that song, A Slow Hot Wind, the vocals seemed more, had more dimensionality and depth to them, if I didn't say that earlier. They had, I may have, but please forgive me if I'm repeating myself. They had more dimensionality when they're singing as a group. It was more, it sounded more pleasing to the ear in stereo, whereas the mono, like I said, provided more direct sound. If I were to choose between the two of them, it's extremely close. I would choose the stereo because I do like, even though the piano and the drums are a little bit more distant, the vocals overall sound a little, a bit better because of the dimensionality and the depth that the sound field provides, and so did the piano and the drums. The piano on some of the songs felt a little bit more grand in terms of depth and dimension than the mono. I think the song One Note Samba, I think the beginning of it sound very, the piano had a lot of dimensionality to it that the mono cannot provide, although the mono provides a great direct sound. I love the dimensionality that the piano on the, I think the first few seconds of, I think it's One Note Samba. It's more grand and more three-dimensional. But in summary, which will I choose? Like I said, I choose a stereo by the slightest of margins. But they both have something to offer. Is this one of those cases where there's not a runaway winner, and is one of those cases where I think they're both winners? It's like they both have a different flavor or different taste on a great iconic album, and they're just different presentations, and they both sound really, really good. I like the direct sound of the mono, but the openness and ambience of the stereo. But if I choose between the two, the stereo. But both of them are a pleasure to listen to, and I recommend getting both of them, in my opinion. At least that's the opinion that I derive from listening to these records on my system. But please leave your comments in the comment section below, which you prefer, the mono or stereo, assuming you have them both. Please leave your comments in the comment section below. That would be pretty interesting. Please like and subscribe. That will help my channel out. And also, like I said, please leave... there's plenty of links to older videos in the description below. Please check those out and support my channel further. Thank you very much for viewing my video. God bless, strong love, and peace to all worldwide.